Hi, I'm Alvaro Henrique and we are back to our course. We are working on a piece by Enriquez de Valderrábano, which I have more questions than answers. I always tell you to enjoy every information that the score brings you, especially the first ones. And the first information this score has is sonnet. What's a sonnet in this context? Because we all have studied what sonnets are in literature. Is this a song? Was this supposed to be played while declaiming or saying some poetry? Was it intended to be an instrumental version of what a poetry is for literature? Was this Valderrabano's way, with his knowledge of Italian or Latin, of trying to say sonata, and he just wrote a typo and wrote sonnet instead? I don't have any answer for any of those questions while I'm recording this lesson. Maybe in the future, if I do find some questions for those answers, I may write on the description of this video or include some editing later. But I don't have answers for that. And it's interesting to ask those stuff, especially whether it has anything to do with literature. At first, I thought it had, because sonnets have a very fixed structure, usually around 7 or 10. And the first phrasing does have 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Let me play once more. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So we have 2 complete measures with 3 notes, 6 notes, and then the first note of the third measure is a long one that can be understood as one phrasing with 7 notes. There are sonnets with 7 syllables, so it can be related to the poem. However, look at the second phrasing. We may even ignore the first D, consider this just some kind of levare to start the phrasing, but even so, look how it would be. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So we have either 8 or 9 notes in the phrasing, depending if you want to include or not the first D as part of the poem. Then it breaks the structure of the poem as we understand in literature. So I really don't have any answer for why it's a sonnet. But I do think that this piece is here to work especially sound. This is a very polyphonic piece. Although it has some characteristics that are unique in Renaissance music, for example, it has lots of jumps. It's not common to have in Renaissance music 2 jumps in a row, and we do have them. Check here. 1 jump, but then a neighbor note, jump, 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 jump. It's a lot of jumps in a row for Renaissance music. And Valderrabano died in 1557. He died before several of the composers who started the Baroque era, and the Baroque did have more jumps, even were born. So it's very unlikely. No, it's very rare to find this kind of structure in Renaissance music. But it is polyphonic. It is one melody. We can recognize as such. And it does sound nice. We have a middle voice also, a viola voice, that is as interesting as natural viola melodies. And we have also a bass voice, like a cello voice. And so on. So it's interesting for you to at least once sing each melody. I recommend you to sing with note names as well, but just sing them. The main stuff is to sing each one of the voices. Then, after singing them, then the real fun will begin. It will be to play balancing the sound of each chord. When I mean balancing the sound, it means that all notes have the same intensity, the same sound quality. You can really hear each one of the notes, but also when phrasing them, there are not abrupt changes. Never. It did happen here. Okay. And this is tricky because we have so many different right hand combinations going on. For example, we have a thumb on the fourth string, then I on the third and A on the first to play. Okay, now then we have a thumb on the 50th and M on the second. And then we have thumb on the 50th and wrong note. I on the third and A on the first. So you see, every time you are changing the configuration of the right hand, you are not playing, or if you're playing, it's very rare that you're playing two following combination of notes. I'm not naming them chords because it's not as we understand chords. So you're not playing two combinations of notes with the same right hand position going on. And that creates the challenge that to make sound even, what your hand must do is uneven. If you do always the same stimuli on the right hand, the sound will be uneven. See? So the challenge is create some muscle memory that you can make sure that the sound is the same, but what you're doing on every combination of notes according to what your muscle is doing is always different. And this is the trick of that piece. This is what is working here, okay? Of course, before even getting into that, you must work to play without any buzz or some noises. And pretty much what you do is just file, polish, work your nails, and with your left hand just press very near the frets. This is the level 3 of the intermediate level. We are using only very easy fingering positions, okay? So you can do that. Just work with that with enjoyment, with passion, and you are going to play that without any buzz at all. It is possible, okay? At least on the level that you are. If maybe you shouldn't be here. Maybe you are thinking that you are on this level, but you forgot to work on basic stuff. So then it's a checkpoint for you to notice that you have to go back and work on those stuff. But if you are correctly placed in this level, you should be playing this without noises on 1 or 2 days of work at the most, if you're practicing a little. Okay? Then you have to create this muscle memory. To create that, you are studying sound. And to study sound, it takes time. Do not worry about speed. And do not let your wish to speed, your desire to play fast, disturb your work on sound. So really hear each note, and it takes time to really hear. So play making sure that the sound is balanced. This is the goal, balanced sound. Then you may speed up, but first try to work with them. And it's important for you to repeat sometimes when you're doing right, because when you first played right, it's now that you found what's the path to play even but with uneven movements on the right hand. So after you may play it right for the first time, then the real game begins, which is to create the memory of that movements so that you can play that way every time, not only one time by chance. Okay? So it is important for you to play right a few times in a row. I do recommend you to work at least, separate 3 objects. It can be, for example, 3 beans, or 3 crayons, or 3 small objects near you, any objects near you, and then every time you play right, you pull one of them. And when you have those 3 objects, these 3 beans, for example, in one position, then you can work on the next excerpt. Barrios was studied his music that way, by the way. So this is really what is going on here. About this playing with the even sound. The last piece we talked about figueta and rend positions, right hand fingerings in Renaissance, which intend to make the sound uneven. The goal was to play the notes on the beat stronger than the notes on the offbeat. But here I'm looking for evenness of sound. I'm trying to communicate with you peace, evenness. I'm sorry to being repetitive, but this is what I'm communicating to you. To really talk to you, to show you those emotions, I really need to play that way. Choosing a right hand fingering that do not provide evenness just because it was the right way according to musicologists. Wow, I don't care about what musicologists say, If the musicology police wants to arrest me for that, come on, I'm guilty as charged, because I do confess that crime. I think that when you have something more important, larger than any petty detail, go for that larger stuff that really shows what you believe. And remember that the music is the language of emotion. It's not the language of rightness or fairness or perfect recreation of the past. this is not why people listen to music. This is not why you wanted to play an instrument. You wanted to play an instrument because it made you feel something. People listen to music because it makes them feel something. It's about emotion. So every time that you have to choose between an emotion and some musicological detail, go for the emotion, okay? And I'm not saying that you should throw on the trash the musicology knowledge. This is a very important starting point. And you should be able to at least once play musicologically correct. You must make sure that the real reason for you to choosing something is a larger goal, not laziness for not even trying to do what musicology tells us to play. So you really should pay attention to what historians, musicologists, and all the knowledge of musical history and aesthetics tell us to do. But when facing a crossroads, go on the emotion road. Always. Okay? So, because I'm trying to play even, I'm playing even, sometimes even repeating the same fingering. When the melody is on the bass, it's easier to repeat the fingering, like in the end of the first system. Okay? Although I did play the E with I and then the others with bass right now, I just noticed. But you don't need to repeat the same finger like I did here. But I'm trying to make the sounding. Okay? Same intensity, same sound quality. That's what I'm looking for. That's what you should be looking for. And have fun.